Honorable House now resumes. All right, I trust everyone had an enjoyable lunch and that we come back here fully energized to complete the session today. I now invite the Honorable MP for St. Mark to take the floor and make her contribution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I just wish to say good afternoon to everyone within the chamber and further afield and those listening online. Good afternoon to all. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make my comments on the estimates of revenues and expenditure as presented by the Minister for Finance. But Mr. Speaker, before I do, I beg your permission to extend congratulations and commendations to Honorable Emmeline Peer, who has ascended to the position of political leader. And I also want to commend and congratulate her on her sterling presentation of a response, very appropriate response to the budget as presented. It would also be remiss of me if I did not do a similar commendation to the member for St. Andrew Northeast on a very excellent presentation, Mr. Speaker. And in the wake of International Women's Day, which was just a few days ago, again permit me to commend these two ladies of quality and of class, and for what they have done, not only for this chamber and among us, but for persons listening throughout the tri-island state and further afield. My commendations. I am proud of my sisters. Mr. Speaker, the speaker before me made some comments, and I will only say that I will not dignify those comments to make a direct response. I really feel that they are beneath me. I would only suffice it to say that those without character always seek to destroy the good character that they see in us. Mr. Speaker, I heard and read some accuracies in the budget presentation, as well as in the debate, and I would therefore, in my presentation, seek to debunk them and to set the record straight. The member for St. Patrick West spoke about numbers. 23 years in office, 20-what years in office, whatever number in office. And Mr. Speaker, I want to state an undeniable fact that regardless to the number of years, NNP in administration has done a phenomenal amount of work in Grenada. And persons can sit and feel, in the next 20 years, I'm going to do everything in Grenada. But those of us with some measure of experience, Mr. Speaker, I have looked back at photos and I have seen where we upgraded and repaired a building. And in a few years, in some years subsequently, they need to be redone again, or a new one needs to come. And so the perfect ones who are going to fix everything in the period, I dare you to do that in the period that NNP in administration has achieved, I beg you to even think, I dare you to even think of achieving the phenomena that we on this side achieved in office, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to name a few, lest we forget, and to remind. When I came into office, there was a project on my side, the Western Corridor, Western Main Road. a huge undertaking years ago. And that work was done by a company called CCC. It was the Western Main Road and the Eastern Main Road. And the Western Main Road, we all know that it's near to the coast, and that sometimes the seas can get very turbulent, very rough, and the seas used to come onto the road. So persons had to wait between waves to navigate certain areas. And when the new National Party, led, I wasn't in government then, by Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Claudius Mitchell, under his leadership, took on that project, see the fence to date. Even a child can walk across there without being molested. And I want to cite a place called, it's pronounced Lassos, but it's a French thing spelled like Larissus. Waltham, River Sally, and Dunpearl, the Fallage area, all those were areas where every time the seas got high, the sea used to undermine the road, and there used to be large holes and breakage. And for years, we have not seen that, Mr. Speaker. And I consider that a great achievement by the new National Party. That project also included widening of bridges, because then as children what we knew was a one-way. One vehicle had to stop on the other side and one, and the main bridge into Victoria at this time has dual carriage, Mr. Speaker, because of the work of the new National Party in office, Mr. Speaker. And until recent times, the Eastern Main Road was acclaimed to be one of the best roads, best kept roads, best constructed, but it seemed to withstand the ravages of the traffic and all of that, one of the best roads. But now, with the demise of road maintenance in Grenada, it is probably like all of the other roads in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Mr. Speaker, who can forget, and somebody on our side would have mentioned it, the cricket stadium. Now that is nothing to some people. And even though they talk about sports and sports tourism, the stadium is not important. I don't know where else would you go for it. Maybe there are other stadia or stadium that are coming for it. For the moment, the Queen's Park Stadium, the cricket stadium, and the athletic stadium, these are the best on the islands at this time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, it's one thing to look into a budget presentation and to tick off 50 million, check, 20 million, check. Anybody could do that. Even a baby could do that. But when we look at the results of what we call the outturn, and those who know economics, and I don't know much, but on one column you see approved estimate for 2024, 2023. And then on the other side, you see the allocated outturn, what was spent, in other words, in simple layman's language. And in many instances, what was spent is million less than what was allocated. And so, I don't know, the economists would have a terminology for it, but if you get a big money, you get 40 million and you spend 10. You know, what you checking at? What is the glory in this? Instead of that, we should be commiserating, wondering, you know, giving some kind of support to those people who think that that is a big achievement, to have monies allocated and do practically nothing with it. And I will substantiate in this document, Mr. Speaker, as we go along. Mr. Speaker, we hear talk about Hurricane Beryl, as though it's the worst disaster that hit Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And for the people in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, it is the worst disaster. Because when Ivan hit us, they were not as, you know, as fully hit as or impacted as the mainland. And so for them, we can understand why they feel it, because a significant percentage of the homes and whatever they had, their worth was destroyed. But we in Grenada on the mainland, we know what happened, Mr. Speaker. Grenada was decimated, flat down to the ground. 200%, I'm being told. Is that out of our GDP? 200% of our GDP. I recall we had to get to St. George's, and we had to go all up Soubise and those kind of areas to get to St. George's, because that chunk of road between Fontenay and Cherry Hill, that was completely washed away by Hurricane Ivan. And there was no vehicular traffic, and people were worrying to see how will the trucks from Grand Mall with the fuel get to the airport, for example? How will planes come? How will they refuel? And all of that. And this man, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Claudius Mitchell, some may hate him, some may dislike him, but I have extreme pride for that man and respect, because I see how he rallied his troops together and got Team NNP working, Mr. Speaker. And in no time, that road became motorable between Fontenay. I don't know if everybody who lives, well, maybe everybody may not know, but as you leave Queen's Park going down to Fontenay, that road was non-existent. And in no time, he rallied people. So at that time, Mr. Speaker, there was no CRIFT insurance. That is now with burial, because of NNP's intuition to do that. And any attempt to discredit in any way, I say shame on those who are seeking to do that, Mr. Speaker. So there was no CRIFT. There was no billions in the Citizenship by Investment program. We didn't have, and I stand corrected, and the then Minister of Finance could correct me on that, but I don't know that there was over $500 million in a pregnant treasury to work with. Mr. Speaker, and without that, I saw Team NNP galvanized into action. The then Prime Minister got a team of competent people, not wild spending of money and taking everybody, every colleague, every activist on a joyride. Got some serious-minded technical people, and they went out of Grenada. I don't know if Dr. Mitchell remembers that, but he should. Went out of Grenada and sought support for the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. And so now what we enjoy today, and what we speak about with so much derision as though it's not important, that brought Grenada back on track. And even with a second hurricane, Emily, we were able to. And I remember the same Prime Minister being invited in several high-level forums. People were amazed, wondering, how did Grenada do it, this little country? Similar to how people were amazed at how we did it with COVID. And we must not forget these things, because we will teach persons to disregard their history. And if you disregard your history, you stand a serious risk of messing up the future as well. So, Mr. Speaker, we have enough behind us to be proud and to stand tall regardless to what is being said. Mr. Speaker, there are many other things, any other projects that were done. I am proud, we don't call it Big Names Project, Polaris Project, this, everything is a project. But we have done a lot with young people. And you can take on all. And even when you take on the numbers you take on, you would not have 100% successes. But I am satisfied when I see, and all they could talk about is the negative on the Imanis. But I have seen the positive. I have seen managers in the hotel sector pulling their weight along those who have trained among the best. I have seen persons get into their own business, entrepreneurs. Persons got through that program opportunities to go to tertiary education, to become nurses, to become even doctors, whatever. And so the Imani program opened the skies for young people so that they could see that the sky was the limit and they can push themselves to achieve whatever they want to achieve. Mr. Speaker, I am well aware that there are some strategic focus areas that the government has repeatedly put up. I am also well aware that from Budget 2023, Budget 2024, Budget 2025, we have a recurring decimal, the same thing over and over and over that they have not achieved in the 3.5 years. So when we talk about others and we point at them, remember, a lot of fingers are pointing back at us, and that is for all of us. Mr. Speaker, going through my documents, I came up with this. And I know that these things happened, and I couldn't remember, and this is Exhibit A, Mr. Speaker, that I can have available. That's a document from a magazine from the Ministry of Finance during my time. And I just want to remind us that in 1997, the then Prime Minister, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, visited Cuba. And relationships were resumed with Cuba, because I don't want to go through the long story, but after the revolution, relationships were broken. And again, it took a visionary leader to go back to Cuba and to face a disappointing Fidel Castro, Ruz. And then, Mr. Speaker, in 1998, 1 year, perhaps even less than that, we had a visit to Grenada by His Excellency Fidel Castro Ruz, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Mitchell went there and brought him in. And subsequently, in 2014, another visit was made by the again then Prime Minister, and I was fortunate to be at that meeting. But we went to that meeting and we spoke to the leader there. But we went with a list in our hands. We knew what we wanted for healthcare. We knew what we wanted for education. And they sent persons in healthcare, human resource development, agriculture, works, sports. I think Grenada benefited in swimming, because we had some of them come to train young people in swimming, and that has made a lot of difference in the lives of some young people. Health technology, and then after that 2014 visit, we also negotiated for specialists, and now Grenada has some persons, some doctors who specialized in various areas, so that they could provide a more upscale service to persons. And at one period of time, and I wasn't able to check what the present situation is, there were 32 Cuban specialists working in Grenada. 25 of them were healthcare specialists, nurses, epidemiologists, psychiatrists, pathologists, anesthesiologists, and a number more, Mr. Speaker. They came, and today, Cuba still continues to provide that kind of technical service to Grenada. So if we short, the agreement has been signed. The goodwill has been there. We do not have to reinvent the wheel. And I hear about trips and visits to Cuba, but as usual, we do not get a report on what happened, so we do not know. I have never heard that we negotiated X or XYZ or A to Z, and maybe other persons would have heard it, but we never hear, so we do not know. All we know is that the hospital is woefully short of nurses, and based on the figures I have seen in the estimates of revenue and expenditure, this supports it. We know that hospital is short of doctors, and one of them is an anesthetist. And looking at the estimate of revenue and expenditure, I look at the human resource, the staffing. For 2024, there was one anesthetist approved. But one anesthetist cannot work efficiently and effectively alone, because you have regular hours of work, plus you have on call, you have weekend and other duties. They also have to take care of intensive care. But what is amazing, and the other side and the government must have known that this was not tenable. In 2025 budget, they still put one anesthesiologist. As though tempting fate, do what you want with the lives of other people. So putting the anesthetist at risk, because of course, if you overwork and you do not get sleep, anything can happen. And putting, very importantly, the lives of patients at risk, Mr. Speaker. And these are the people who condemn us today. Mr. Speaker, going back to bringing His Excellency Fidel Castro Ruz to Grenada, that was an epic moment for us. And Mr. Speaker, I really want to put on record the astounding leadership demonstrated by Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Claudius Mitchell for doing that, because all Grenadians benefit from that. It wasn't a grandstanding. It wasn't just an unnecessary trip with a whole entourage of persons, but it was an important business trip that brought benefits to Grenada. And then not only did we do that, we signed an agreement between Grenada, Cuba, and Venezuela. Cuba agreed to provide technical support, the construction people, the design of the hospital for the upgrade and the expansion, and the Venezuelans. Fortunes were a bit different then than they are now. They agreed to fund some of the significant costs of that general hospital. Mr. Speaker, I call that laying down the foundation. You train people. You bring in people while these people are out there training. And the people who come in train people on the ground as well. You improve on an institution. And you ensure that there are basic supplies. And I'm going to get to that shortly, Mr. Speaker. But I am saying, do not reinvent the wheel. The avenue is open, and I'm going to bring some figures to show that there was monies to employ more people, regardless to where they came from. But some of the money was either woefully underutilized or not utilized at all, Mr. Speaker. And yet, we are pounding and we are knocking things that are not in the benefit and the interest of the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Mr. Speaker, Cuba has always been supportive to the Grenadian people. They have always been a friend to us, and they have assisted us in critical moments, Mr. Speaker, as health and in other areas. And I want to place on record my unwavering high esteem for the Cuban leadership and the people of Cuba, Mr. Speaker. They have developed our human resources tremendously. Mr. Speaker, the 2025 budget, it is a tiresome repackaging of the two former presentations of the budget, 2023 and 2024. You almost know it by heart. Health and wellness, education and training, agriculture and the marine industry, culture, energy, and all of these things, over and over and over. And it is interesting that health and wellness, I think it's always at the top. But it seems to me that this is the one that gets maybe not the least attention, but close to the least attention. And I am very, 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 and not just me, Grenadians are concerned. And the other side should be just as concerned, or even more concerned, because they are the ones that hold the reins at this time. And they are the ones who have always postulated that they can deal with everything under the sun. They are the ones who are responsible at this time. But we on this side, we're willing to help, because Grenadians are Grenadians and health is important to all of us. So, Mr. Speaker, looking at infrastructure, new market development, in 2024, and up to now I don't know what this new market development is, but we on this side, we can't read, we don't have sense. So, new market development, I won't even try to discern what it is. $2 million approved in 2024. And what they call the actual provision, and what it means is what you spend, zero. And it's there in the document, I am not making this up. Zero spent for the new market. development. And something was also allocated for 2023. So 2023, 2024, 2025, we're waiting to see what happens with that. Ministerial complex, 1 million approved for 2024. Provisional actual, what you spend is 59,450. 1 million. So, and it's 59,000, it's not 500,000, 59,000. The St. John's River, and I don't know if the member would have spoken about that. The St. John's River project, what was allocated for 2024 was $9 million that was approved. The actual provisional, what was actually spent is $1,250,125. I want to repeat that. The St. John's River project, so critical to that area, River Road and surrounding areas, and to save lives. We saw what happened in the flood sometime last year where we lost lives. $9 million approved. Actual provisional, what you spend is $1,250,000 and a little bit more. So we could tip off that now in 2025. But we're going to come back here, those of us who are alive, in 2026, and we will see the same kind of pattern on this paper, Mr. Speaker. Goa flood mitigation project, 750,000 approved, 88,761 was spent. Maybe the flood fixed itself, I don't know. Maybe there are other projects that got priorities over that. But I look at the vast disparity between what is allocated and what is spent, and I am convinced that something is very wrong with the members on the other side. Mr. Speaker, but on further perusal, there are two line items where the amount is always higher. One is international travel. Plenty money. I don't even wait time to put it up there because I can't call these figures on them. International travel. And even if when you travel, you're bringing back something, you must weigh it against other things. And I'm going to talk about the other things that travel should be weighed against. And the other one is beautification, empowerment, sustainability, and transformation. I try to figure out what that means, but it eludes me all the time. I call it the nebulous line item. You just don't know what it is. Try as you might, you would not know. But what we know is the big amount of money compared to what is approved and what is spent, Mr. Speaker. And we boast about. So maybe the project is completed. Maybe all projects are completed. But it's just that the other side, they are wizards with figures, and so the actual cost has become less. I don't know. But we're dealing with a government that boasts of record-breaking CBI sales, disaster donations that they got, over 500 million. And I mentioned that they made in Treasury, but we must not forget that, because monies have been there. And they do not have much to show for it, Mr. Speaker. And the question is, where is that money being spent? If it's spent with good use on the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, then that is where it has to be spent, Mr. Speaker. But from what I can see is irresponsible, reckless spending, a lot of things to dazzle people's eyes, make them forget, somebody say optics, make them forget that their stomach is grumbling, make them forget that they lost their job because of some perceived affiliation with NNP, Mr. Speaker. Make them forget that on the morning of the first of a month, they are leaving home to go to work, and somebody meets them and say, your services are no longer required. Some little level person, you know, not a manager or anybody of significant position. Everybody is important, so don't get me wrong, but you must have somebody to tell you that your job is terminated. And I heard the Minister for Mental Health say that if you lose your job, you could get depressed. So I am wondering how many more people we have depressed than before the NDC came into administration, Mr. Speaker. That's before and after. We have to compare. But they give us the lights on the corridors to dazzle the eye again. Optics. Optics make you forget you're hungry. And you know what bothers me? The lights are good, the lights are nice, people like it. But the point is, at the point of service, of delivery of health service to people, what are you offering them as a trade-off for the lights? What are we offering them? And I want to propose that some of that money could have been used right there on the coroners. Because a lot of people who go to the hospital, they still have to go on the coroners in that spice-cell imaging. Some who have to have ultrasound, they still have to go there. So between the two, I believe we on this side would have chosen to help people to get a blood test done, because there are quite a few that are unavailable at this present time, and also to get some lab tests done, some of which are unavailable at this time. So I would go for the antibiotics, I would go for the painkillers, and yes, a little glitter here, a little glitter there. We have to be proud of 50 years, proud of 51 years, but not at the expense of people and at the cost of their health. I understand that some people are saying that some of the doctors, they're tired of giving prescriptions to in-house patients, lab papers to in-house patients. So you have to, maybe they'll take the sample for you, but you have to go outside elsewhere. Mr. Speaker, I just say that these monies could have been better spent for the people. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to go into the Jones and Mo Jones, because every time I hear a different figure, a different cost, Mr. Speaker. And yes, drones are good modern technology, because if I had drones, I see some pictures display on the screen there, I might have take some photos of what I've done in St. Mark's too. So, I mean, I have nothing against drones. But when you have plenty, and they take up on the services that you have to deliver to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, I have a problem with that. Mr. Speaker, so 3 budgets. And in many of these budgets, in all of them, we have not moved from phase 1 in many of the projects. So 2023, phase 1 of the battle. 2024, phase 1 of the battle. 2025, and the battle remains the same, and nothing is done, Mr. Speaker. But when they came in, they met a hospital that we had the collaboration of the Cubans and the Venezuelans. I would never say here that it is perfect. I would never say here that it is better than what is being conceived. But I would say that this hospital will hold the fort until we can get the brand new AI hospital, which starts in June 2026. We will hold on. I will take the general hospital as is, rather than hold my breath and wait for the AI one that we see. You know, somebody called me the last time and they say, when the new hospital opening? I see a nice thing on TV, and everybody feels it. I say, well, that's the same glitter, you know, the lights, they call it the drones and all kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing. So just fool us. Just fool us, because we're stupid. We can't read, we don't know the economics, we don't know this, we don't know that, but we have common sense. Mr. Speaker, number of other things they received, and they say it's nothing. Upgrade of Princess Alice Hospital structurally and equipment. Brand new polyclinic in St. John's. It is essentially closed down, because when the doctor goes, the doctor has a few hours to work. Whatever the arrangement is, the doctor does that, and then the poor nurses are left to fend for themselves, to deal with patients, and to call and find out what to do with that. And this is what is happening now at this time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to move to supplies. There is an institution based in St. Lucia called the OECS PPS. Some people say pool procurement services, some people say pharmaceutical procurement services, but it's more than pharmaceutical, it's other things, but all are medical supplies. This institution is a child that belongs to the Eastern Caribbean. They formed it. So they source medication at the cheapest cost, they check on quality so they can advise the members, and they try to ensure that with the monies that they pay, they get the best quality, the best value for money. So, Mr. Speaker, they trust in you, the medicine, you know. If you don't have it, they credit in you. But you have to have a good relationship. So I Googled the OECS PPS because I said maybe they closed down. And that's why we're having all of these difficulties. So I Googled it to see if it's functioning. And according to Mr. Google, it is functioning. So why aren't we accessing medication for them when they do the testing for us and they give us the best rate and they also will wait for us to pay? And I have one of the papers because Dr. the Right Honorable Kit Claudius Mitchell, as Minister for Finance, he knew. And I used to go to meetings and I would encourage my colleague to do so. And I would encourage the leader, not of government business, but the leader of the cabinet, the head of the cabinet, and all members to get involved. They have to get involved because it's your life, it's your family's life, and it's the life and the health and the well-being of every Grenadian in this country. And for visitors who come as well. So this is one, I came up with two. And this is an Exhibit B, and anybody could see it. This says, in respect of the OECS PPS, and that came from the PS in Finance, we have paid 2.32 million this year, which includes et cetera, in the interest of time. 2.32 million. And I hope I get to the figures. You know how many 2.32 million? Let us give room for inflation. Because that was some years ago. Maybe the cost would have gone up by now. But even if, let's say double, 4 million, I could easily look in the estimate of revenue and expenditures and find monies that were not used, find areas where the money was wasted, and say to them on the other side, you could have taken that and bought medication. And they don't only give medication, you know, other medical supplies, things like gloves, things for your x-rays to function, the scans, whatever reagents they have to use, these are being sold there. So I don't know if we vex with them, I don't know if they vex with us, but I have never heard that name called at any one time. So what I did a bit of research. That's my third exhibit. And these are facts. People say anything they want, but the facts don't lie. And anyone can just Google the PPS, and it gives us a list of all of the supplies they have. Nobody will take that from me, but they could go and Google it. But the point is, it is saying we have these to offer. You can contact us, they are available. And a whole lot, antibiotics, painkillers, this, that, reagents for the lab that the lab is missing now. Because I heard the member for St. George Southeast speak about an area where a department that moved from one area to phase 2 of the General Hospital. Who did phase 1? Who did phase 1 and who did phase 2? And we did not only construct it, but we equipped it with CT scans, state-of-the-art, cutting edge. Maybe now, after 3 years, you have no cutting edge, but then it was the cutting edge. X-ray, all of those sort of things. And we equipped it, and it is there. You know, a beautiful hospital, we can't argue. But we could argue that if you're going to give us the old hospital and give us medication and give us staff and give us reagents to do certain tests and whatnot, give us that before the AI hospital. And I will go for that anytime, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, too many areas of unspent money. And you know, a low blow was thrown, and I didn't take it any offense, because, you know, sometimes a little pick on a little something has to go. But I I don't know if it was an accusation that said something. But what I want to say is, you see this letter? It used to go straight to the Ministry of Finance. But I made it my business to know when we owe. And I made it my business to tell the Minister for Finance and the head of cabinet we had to pay some money before things get too bad. So yes, we had shortages. And I know they're going to hit back with that. But I know we have never had shortages this acute and this long, Mr. Speaker, to threaten the lives of the people, the adults and the children of our Tri-Island state. So when, Mr. Speaker, when COVID came, I rolled up my sleeve. And everyone in the nursing fraternity knows it. And this is not a boast, this is a reality. And this is just a measure I'm saying to my friend. Even when you're tired, and health is a big issue, it makes you tired. And sometimes you might say you want a break, and there's nothing wrong with that. But while you're there, you have to do your work. You have to pull up the sleeves, and every weekend, Saturday and Sunday without fail, I went out vaccinating, I went out testing, I did what I had to do. And I had a team of people, nurses from the local cohort, and physicians and nurses from St. George's University. We made a formidable team until we had COVID well under control. And the rest is history, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just to say one anesthetist could never work. It can't work. Mental wellness, all I will say is that since 2023, you have to put people, I know it have less inmates now. Well, I hear that, I don't know. But you have to have an institution for people. There was a place in the General Hospital called Rathdun. That is where people who are acute, who are not that violent and so. And it's supposed to be vacated by now to replace back, but then I'm not the minister. Who am I to say? But that is what the plan was. I don't know what it is now. But 0.5 million was allocated in 2023 to Carlton House. It was budgeted for. Not 1 cent spent so far, Mr. Speaker. Just a few projects, not 1 cent spent that far. Mr. Speaker, I want to just mention briefly on housing. I realize the time is going. I just want to say that since the election campaign, before, we heard about Project 500. That means 500 houses every year. When I looked at the monies allocated, there was money allocated. But up to now, I cannot see any one of the houses for Project 5, but money is being spent, but it's not accounted for. And if, you know what I know? If there were any significant housing project, we'll just see it on TV. There is nothing that they do that is not on TV. So how come nothing on TV? No news release about the houses. Well, we promised 500, we do 50. From Project 500, we're still waiting to see what. But promise made and promise kept. These are just somehow big words to fool people so that we can be quiet, but we are the ones fooling. Mr. Speaker, I will just move briefly to the rising cost of living. And I heard the learned ones who deal with figures say the consumer price index give a figure. I just learned the word and I memorized it, but I don't know it. So who want to say are stupid? Everybody know that already. I don't care about the consumer index, what it says. I know what I see when I pick up a commodity in the supermarket or when I ask for it over the counter in a shop. And I know what I pay every time I go there. And I know and I hear what people are saying in their homes, how they're barely holding on, and in the street corners. So I don't want to hear about the consumer index. I want to know about the real price index that people are paying and the real hurt that is suffering in every nook and cranny. Some of them, people say they're bawling with their mouth closed. They don't want to bawl because they know whatever it is. But the point is, it is getting bad. And it is getting worse, and we have a list of 20 items, and I haven't seen any significant change. If at all, I may have missed it out, maybe running through quickly. Mr. Speaker, I want to move quickly to tourism competitiveness. That is the project on the fort. And I heard the minister from representative from the South speak about it, that we were about to lose it, that we didn't do whatever and whatever and whatever. But, you know, and I blame myself for not being the kind of photographic person that I see some people are. You know, they drive a fly, they take a photo and they send it out. And everybody say, oh great, you drive a fly. But Mr. Speaker, I was the one. And that wasn't, although it was a tourism project, it was under the Ministry of Finance. And when the people came from the World Bank and we realized that we are about to lose it, I took those people on a tour up there. And I'm sorry I didn't take out the photo, so now I could have been showing it. But at that time I didn't know he had a thing called, how you call the thing again, the dazzling one up in there? Drone. The drone. I didn't know about that. And for that they right to say I'm stupid. But the point is that we were the one who conceived the idea. There were 3 islands and they didn't lie on that. I won't call the other 2, but Grenada was one, and each island chose the project they wanted to do. And we chose the 4th. We had the vision to choose that. And then when COVID came, you know, burial is an issue, but COVID is never an issue. All of the things that confront us to slow us down is never an issue. When COVID came, we had to speak to somebody consult. At first, nobody talking to us because maybe they thought COVID, you're catching it by the phone. And then eventually we did virtual, whatever. And when we met with the people at the World Bank, after, you know, the whole heat of the pandemic and so on, and they came, and me and the then PS, we sat with them, and I told them the history of that area, the distant history, and the present history. And I begged them, I don't think I went down on my knees, but I begged them to give us another chance. And 1 week after they came, they wrote the Ministry of Finance, and the records would show that, telling them, because the cost had gone up, because with COVID there was a lot of whatever, inflation maybe not the appropriate word there, but cost of things went up. And they gave us that. And so I had to go back to cabinet and ask them to approve the cost overrun. Nowadays, cost overrun is an everyday thing. Everything you do, every grass you break, you have a cost overrun. But in those days, we were very careful with cost overrun. And when I satisfied my Minister for Finance that, you know, because of the COVID and so on, that it was necessary, he agreed. And so if we didn't save it then, there would be no tourism competitiveness to be in a pipeline. And I challenge that anytime. Bring your facts and bring your dates. There would have been no project they called so. I was the one, not being there in the beginning, but when I saw it was a tourism project, I begged for it. Mr. Speaker, I'm trying to balance myself here. Mr. Speaker, I heard the member for Carrick who spoke of quite a few glowing things that are happening. And I haven't seen all of them. I'm happy for that. I am happy. However, Mr. Speaker, the CRIF money was given 14 days after Hurricane Beryl. And you know, stupid people like me, we wondering why the directors from the CRIF Insurance had to call here and beg us to use the money after they give us 14 days. After we had enough time to sit down and plan, and the visionaries, I don't know where they were hiding at the time, but they should have used their skills to assist in coming up with a design, and so on, and so on, and so on. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk briefly about the G-Cruise project. That is another favorite one of ours. Grenada Climate Resilience Water Sector Project, a value of $125 million. This project was signed in 2018. The consultant visited in 2019. And I'm always willing to see, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Then perhaps COVID came, and we had a break. And the project was how you call it, 6-year project. And so it was in several areas, in Maribor, in Victoria, in St. Patrick, There was also an expansion for Guava and Carriacou, maybe I missed one somewhere. But this was a very important project to bring water to areas that normally would not get, Mr. Speaker. And that was envisaged. The work was done by NAWASA and by the relevant persons in the government ministry. And today, we have that project. So whoever is responsible for bringing it this far, kudos and compliments to you. But remember, it only came in the pipeline because we put it there in the pipeline. Mr. Speaker, I just want to move quickly to the people who have been instrumental in me being here and who have consistently served me, because they know, I think they understand that you can't do everything. I can't do everything. But several projects, the medical station started under us and completed, so that one was completed too short after they came into office for them to steal that one. Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I ask for 5 minutes?
You have 10.
Oh, 10 more? Oh, well, I good. Mr. Speaker, yes, so the medical station. I want to thank my colleagues for agreeing to purchase the then Victoria Hotel so that we can develop it into an incubator. That's when I learned, I think that's the word. That is when I learned what an incubator is. And we had plans for that place and we started to refurbish it. There was somebody with a contract and he was doing the work, albeit it's kind of slow too. And the contract was taken away from him. That's the government prerogative. I haven't said a word in public about it because that's the government's right to take away. But if you take it away, take out the contractor, then you need to ensure that there is somebody who could continue the work. And I well remember, in a former NDC time, when we built the daycare center in Victoria, it was supposed to be a 2-story. So the daycare was done at the bottom and they were supposed to go up with the library on the top. And elections came and we lost. And NDC came in office and they spent 5 years and not one nail was put on. And the same NDC now, same philosophy. You know, I'm surprised that they take on some of the projects that were in our hands, but there are some they won't touch with a 10-foot rod. I don't know if they're going to touch the whole Victoria Hotel, but they certainly didn't touch that one. We came back and we completed it, Mr. Speaker. So I don't know what is going to happen to the Victoria Hotel, but at this time, nothing is happening. Also, and I have, in case they want to see, I have the exhibit here to show. And the last one I have to speak about, because the time that these were drawn was after June 2022. That project is a NNP administration, not NNP, not a party, but the administration project. So, Mr. Speaker, there was a contract signed with a gentleman under the Ministry of Infrastructure to expand the landing area for the fishermen of Waltham. Contract was signed, and I don't know what were the details of between the contractor and what, but up to now, 2.5 years, 3 years, whatever you call it, it has not been touched. I asked for it in the Finance Committee meeting whether we were going to have it or not. And the Prime Minister, who was chairing the meeting at this time, said he would check. I haven't received an answer. I look up, I look down, I look sideways, and it is not there. Mr. Speaker, I saw large numbers for the farmers, and I'm happy for that. But there are farmers who are not getting. And if I don't think it's appropriate to call names here, but those who I notice not getting are those who are affiliated with NNP. So I hear people say, we are non-partisan. Anybody could say that, but it's true. It's true. I can give you a list. I can give you a list and you can check it out. You can check it out. So, Mr. Speaker, we're still waiting for that. We're still waiting for some people whose roofs got damaged by Hurricane Beryl, and they have not gotten relief yet. Everything takes time, so we're waiting. We're waiting, but I just want to mention that. Some persons waiting for housing materials since my time, And they claim that people who came after them get in. I don't know, I can't say, but I hope at some time soon they will have that. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of the Nutmeg Museum in St. Mark. I am proud of the role I played in supporting and getting it started. And I think it's a wonderful thing for the parish as well as the nutmeg industry, the owners. I also wish, Mr. Speaker, in closing, to extend, I did that already, greetings to all women and girls, and to thank my constituents again, and to let them know that my love, my support, my commitment is always with them, Mr. Speaker, and I will do my very best to ensure that they receive the best they can receive, given the circumstances. And they have to understand that the mandate had been passed by persons in authority who say, you did not get because you didn't tell us who you are. Which side you on? I didn't say it. I didn't say it. We have it on tape. So it means now, I can't tell them to go and say they is what they not is. I don't know what to tell them, but they are there and they are Grenadians and they are suffering just like everybody else. I want to thank my colleagues on the opposition side. We fought, but we are forced to be reckoned with. Because when you have God on your side and when you care about people, who can be against you? Who can be against you? So, before they say we think in God's name, and no, I ain't calling it in vain because I have seen it myself. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I almost forgot the Bonnet Bridge. The designs for the Bonnet Bridge were put together somewhere in about 2020. Somewhere 2019, 2020, we would see dialogue, community engagement for the Bonnet Bridge. What is interesting is that when meetings were held, there are some faces I never saw. They never came to make an input until the party win and then you come. If you're interested in a bridge, you're interested in a bridge. If you're interested in a service for the people, then let us serve the people. But you know what we do? Lip service. That's what we serve. We serve our own mouths, we serve our lips, and we have people who are hurting out there. We have people who need support. We have farmers, we have fisher folk. As big as the numbers are on paper, we still have others. We still have others who need it. And I want to say, if we are really honest about caring people and loving people, let's do the right thing. Let's do what we have to do and really and truly serve people. Again, I thank St. Mark, and my love is with you, and I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your service.
Thank you, Honorable MP, for the constituency of St. Mark. Well done. Is it the like to be MP for St. Patrick East? Is it? I now invite the MP for St. Patrick East to now take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sorry, Honorable MP, you proceed, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, again. I wish to extend my deepest appreciation to all members of this Honorable House who have contributed to the important motion. I particularly commend those who have engaged constructively in genuinely criticizing the budget, thereby helping to elevate the debate and the consciousness and understanding of our people.
45.
This debate is a testament to the democratic process and our collective commitment to the people of Grenada. However, Mr. Speaker, I must take this opportunity to address and correct some grossly misleading statements made by the opposition. We have no doubt that these statements were made deliberately to hide the truth and keep some segments of our population uninformed. The leader of the opposition spoke of economic decline in the global economy and here in Grenada, citing the World Economic Report as published.
Honorable MP, just come to the bench, please.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker.
Please come to the bench. Join us here, please.
Or join you. Mr. Speaker, I was saying that the leader of the opposition spoke on economic decline in the global economy and here at home in Grenada, citing the World Economic Report as published by the IMF. Mr. Speaker, the World Economic Report, however, tells a very different story. Grenada's economy continues to grow with positive GDP expansion. In layman terms, Mr. Speaker, the economic pie is growing and not declining. Mr. Speaker, we can excuse the good lady for being new to the role of opposition leader, but what we can't excuse is she has been around as a senior government minister for many years, yet she does not appear to know or understand the difference between economic growth and economic decline. Or what is it her intention? Is it to mislead or to deceive the population? Runaway inflation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, like economic growth, our friends on the other side either do not understand the concept of inflation or are spreading this or misinformation. The Grenada Education Enhancement Project, GIP 2. Mr. Speaker, we heard that the funding for the St. David's Catholic Secondary School and the St. Andrew's Anglican Primary School was secured by the NNP government. Another blatant untruth. The loans for these two projects were negotiated by our administration and signed by me as Minister of Finance in April of 2024. I have here with me the evidence with my signature attached of the loan agreement. So those of you who would want to at least have a look at it, I can make it available to the Parliament so you can see that I was the one who actually signed this loan. These loans for the two projects were negotiated under my administration and signed by me, and I showed you the evidence. Mr. Speaker, permit me to share this document with you if need be. Fiscal management and government spending. Mr. Speaker, contrary to claims of wanton fiscal mismanagement and fiscal deterioration, our finances are well managed. This reminds me of the opposition claim that the government will collapse in the first 6 months after the 2022 elections. Then in 1 year, then in another year and a half, now 2.5 years, they have been singing a different tune, yet that tune is very unsubstantiated. Mr. Speaker, perhaps one of the most flagrant of these claims is a budget of over $2.1 million in overseas travel and hosting and entertainment by the Prime Minister. This is a lie. Mr. Speaker, if I'm permitted to use a word. Mr. Speaker, as a member of Parliament, especially those of us who claim to be religious leaders, should do better. That said, official engagement, whether domestic or international, are necessary for securing investments, strengthening domestic diplomatic ties, and advancing Grenada's development agenda. Every trip or every service is for a strategic purpose. Budget, loan, authorization, and financing the fiscal deficit. Mr. Speaker, the opposition is trying their best to mislead the nation.
I remember.
Sorry.
I hate to stop you, but we need to take a 3-minute recess to get the matter resolved.
I didn't get you, Mr. Speaker.
To get a matter resolved.
Okay.
Hey GBN family, we've got a brand new home on Facebook and you need to be there. Follow us now on Facebook at Grenada Broadcasting Network -GBN. Stay updated with the latest news, sports, entertainment, and everything Grenada. Don't miss out. Like, follow, and share. Grenada Broadcasting Network. Stay informed, stay ahead. First with the news, fast with the updates.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Got something to share?
Call us at 440-1252.
WhatsApp 405-3052 or 407-8458.
Or email gbnnews@gbn.gd.
GBN News, first, accurate, voted number one.
I think nutrition is an integral part of managing many of the diseases that we see manifesting here in our region. If we don't make food our medicine, medicine will eventually become our food.
We're trying to focus on reading food labels, because reading food labels, it's also another important factor in making sure that we as persons choose healthier food options.
Join us on Caribbean Medical TV right here on this station.
Records at the traffic department shows that a total of 1,447 accidents were reported for the year 2012, which includes 3 road fatalities. 2,946 accidents were reported for the year 2022, which includes 8 road fatalities. This is a significant increase of 104%. This is alarming. When a family tragically loses a loved one, does it matter whether by means of a gun or a motor vehicle? To avoid accidents, drivers and pedestrians alike must exercise extreme caution when using the road.
Coming up, Carnival was in the air as Exodus played its part once again. Home away from home, Barbadian style. Antigua's Black Pineapple, locally grown and good for you too. Top-level sports featuring tomorrow's talents. It's all next on this station.
Wait to see my granddaughter.
This is a plastic bag. From February 1st, these bags are not to be used when shopping for food. So here's what you should do. Refuse plastic. Instead, bring your own reusable shopping bags and say goodbye to plastic. Choose to refuse plastic. Walk with your reusable shopping bags and help protect pure Grenada from plastic pollution. A message from the Ministry of Climate Resilience.
Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started.
You know, one day I woke up and, they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. Nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You know you're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross. And only when you have come to a complete stop that is when they will quickly and safely cross to the other side. And then you continue happily on your journey.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact, wait for pedestrian to cross. Then you happily continue on your journey.
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Hey GBN family, we've got a brand new home on Facebook and you need to be there. Follow us now on Facebook at Grenada Broadcasting Network -GBN. Stay updated with the latest news, sports, entertainment, and everything Grenada. Don't miss out. Like, follow, and share. Grenada Broadcasting Network. Stay informed, stay ahead. First with the news, fast.